Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today I'm taking a much overdue look at the visually impressive and free-to-play survival game Vigor. The last time I made a video about Vigor was nearly 2 years ago, and since then they've added a ton of new weapons, maps, gameplay features, and other changes. Now I'd also like to give a big thank you to the developers and Bohemia Interactive for sponsoring today's video. Vigor is available on both Xbox and PlayStation consoles, as well as the Nintendo Switch, and if you haven't tried it before, well, again, it's free to play, so go check it out. The new Battle Pass is live for Season 8 Trappers. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video to find out how you can win a free code for that Battle Pass. Now, if you haven't seen my original overview video about Vigor, in a nutshell, it's a survival shooter where you and a handful of other players race to gather as many resources and weapons as possible in large rural maps before the area becomes radioactive and kills you. In between matches, you can go to your shelter where you won't be attacked by other players. Here, you can use the resources that you gathered during other matches to craft weapons, upgrade your base to provide in-game benefits, and ensure your gear for future matches. Now, the game is set in a post-apocalyptic version of Norway, which gives it an unusual sense of being extremely remote. Before every match, you can load up on gear from your base's stash to try and give you an edge, but when you die, you lose all of your equipment, so keep that in mind. In my opinion, the hardcore nature of this game really enhances the experience and keeps you on your toes, weighing every decision that you make. It's also incredibly atmospheric and extremely well crafted. If you're a console gamer, I think Vigor is up there with some of the best survival games around. There's really nothing quite like it on console, and as someone who usually plays more on PC, I think there's a ton of potential for Vigor on PC as well. And in case the developers can't tell, I'm winking at you guys right now. They also recently announced that a next-gen port is in the works, which has definitely got my ears perked up. Now, my first match coming back to Vigor instantly reminded me just how intense and immersive it is. When you spawn into a match, you're placed in a random location. I started off at a really high elevation point, and it allowed me to really admire the beauty of the environment, and frankly, it almost made me forget that I was about to drop into a brutal kill zone. For this round, I was using a very basic loadout with the VZ58P, which is basically an AK-47 type of gun, and a pistol for backup. Now, as I was making my way across the map, I came across a telephone. When you activate one of these, it makes another phone ring somewhere else on the map. If a player picks up that phone, you become rivals, and then the game reveals your locations to each other. I picked up the phone and placed my call, hoping to 1v1 someone, but no one picked up the call. A lot of the time, players will just hang out near a ringing phone and use it as bait, so I looked at the map and headed over to the receiving phone. A player was looting near the ringing phone when I got there, probably to investigate the noise. He didn't look like he had great gear, and he took off running when he saw me. I chased after him, but ended up losing him in the surrounding foliage, which is pretty easy to do in this game. Then shots started coming my way, but I just couldn't see where they were actually coming from. Usually in Vigor, if you hear someone shooting at you but you can't see them, well, it's probably time to run. And the audio cues in Vigor realistically blend into the atmosphere of the game. You'll hear breaking branches and footsteps mixed in with animal calls and the wind blowing through the trees. Stuff you'd expect to hear in a rural area. So when you hear gunshots or a window break, it sends you into panic mode. Now, I took off running toward the center of the map as the mid-match airdrop landed. When this happens, it usually means you have a few minutes left to evacuate the map before the radiation starts to set in. And despite not getting any amazing loot, I decided to head toward an exit. Unfortunately, the radiation kicked in just as I spotted another player. And I could have just let him be and run, but I also wanted to kill him and grab his loot. The ensuing gunfight was pretty wild. I spotted him jumping a fence, but the recoil on my VZ was so high that I just missed a whole bunch of shots. He managed to get behind cover, and honestly, I was really lucky that he was using a pistol because, well, he nearly killed me. Had he been using the VZ, well, I probably would have died in this firefight. I grabbed his loot, but there really wasn't much worth taking. My character was pretty low level, so I had only the most basic healing items. They gave me just enough HP to make it to the exit as the radiation ticked down my health. A split second longer and the radiation would have got me and I would have lost everything. Now, Vigor's pacing is generally pretty slow, which is intended, so many matches tend to play out like this, where you'll run into a couple of people, maybe run away and extract with with whatever loot you manage to grab. But I've also had matches where I run across 3 or 4 players with gunshots and car alarms going off in the background. The more aggressive you play, the more action you'll get for sure. But the game also rewards really well for playing smart, hitting big loot spots, and getting out alive. So you can really employ a myriad of playstyles as long as you're good at them. But you always have to remember that you're just one wrong move away from losing everything while roaming this gorgeously rendered countryside. And in many ways, I think that's what makes Vigor unique in the sea of survival games we have these days. It blends visuals and atmosphere typically reserved for single-player games with survival mechanics that don't slow gameplay down or make it feel tedious. Many survival games are just about trying to stay topped off on resources and don't really offer a whole lot of action. But Vigor puts you in a position where you're always trying to get better stuff and weigh the risks of going for big plays. And while losing everything if you die can make the stakes high, the reality is that you're also earning points that you can use to craft or unlock gear, both through the resources generated at your base and through XP earned in matches. So if you lose a high-end assault rifle in a match, it shouldn't take you too long to earn enough points to craft a replacement. You'll also earn points that you can spend upgrading your base, which can give you even more resources to play with. To claim resources, you interact with stations scattered around your shelter. Upgrading these stations yields more resources and faster cooldowns for crafting items. Every item you craft takes a certain amount of time to finish. It's not a huge hindrance, but the faster crafting goes, the easier it is to make a lot of stuff. Your base also gets some really nice visual upgrades as you level it up. It goes from looking like a long abandoned shack to a bona fide home the more you upgrade it. And I really like this part of the game. It sort of adds a fun little nesting element to a survival shooter. Now, since the last time that I played Vigor, the devs have added several new modes outside of the traditional extraction missions. These are your basic deathmatch and team deathmatch. You don't lose anything in these modes if you die, but you also don't get any weapons from looting. Both modes start you with a random weapon every time you spawn, and you loot other weapons from containers on the map. The gameplay is methodical and lethal like in the regular extraction mode, but much faster paced. These modes are fun and provide a good way to practice the combat so that you're actually ready for an extraction round. Now, to be totally honest, I think Vigor is the measure by which other survival games should be judged. The genre has ebbed and flowed in popularity over the years. We've gotten tons of incredible and not so incredible games in that time, but Vigor stands out to me as the complete package. It's got the visuals, the production quality, the gameplay, the content, and the immersion that many other games offer in bits and pieces. Considering that it's getting a next-gen version and you can even play it on the go if you have a Switch, I think it's a killer game that's absolutely worth grabbing. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that the new Battle Pass for Season 8 is live. If you head over to my Twitter at LevelCapGaming, I'll be giving away Battle Pass codes for Xbox and PlayStation. All you have to do to claim them is guess the hidden character in each code. Season 8 adds a new weapon, the PH-M82, a Legacy Season tab, Hunter Pack, Prey Pack, and a bunch of other cool stuff. And if you don't already own Vigor, check it out in the link in the video description. It'll help me out. Thanks once again to Bohemia Interactive for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.